Here is our epilogue, which is basically put at the end of books or movies, and it usually happens sometime later from where the last chapter had ended. So here we go. Epilogue. The sign said "Welcome to Tree Gap," but it was hard to believe that this was really Tree Gap. The main street hadn't changed so very much, but there were many other streets now, crossing the main street. The road itself was black-topped. There was a white line painted down its center. May and Tuck, on the seat of clattering wood wagon, bumped slowly into Tree Gap behind the fat old horse. They had seen continuous change and were accustomed to it, but here it seemed shocking and sad. "Look," said Tuck. "Look, May. Ain't that where the wood used to be? It's gone. Not a stick or a stump left. And her cottage, that's gone too." It was very hard to recognize anything, but from the little hill which had once lain outside the village and was now very much part of it, they thought they could figure things out. "Yes," said May, "that's where it was. I do believe. Of course, it's been so long since we were here, I can't tell for certain." There was a gas station there now. A young man in greasy coveralls was polishing the windshield of a wide and rusty Hudson automobile. As May and Tuck rolled past, the young man grinned and said to the driver of the Hudson, who lounged at the wheel, "Looky there, and from the country for a big time," and they chuckled together. May and Tuck clattered on into the village, past a Catholic mixture of horses and houses, which soon gave way to shops and other places of business. A hot dog stand, a dry cleaner, a pharmacy, a 5 and 10, another gas station, a tall white frame building with pleasant veranda, the Tree Gap Hotel, family dining, easy rates. The post office, beyond that, the jailhouse, but a larger jailhouse now, painted brown with an office for the county clerk. A black and white police car was parked in the front with a red glass searchlight on its roof and a radio antenna, like a buggy whip, fastened to the windshield. May glanced at the jailhouse but looked away quickly. "See beyond there?" she said. "That diner? Let's stop there and get a cup of coffee, all right?" "All right," said Tuck. "Maybe they'll know something." Inside the diner, it gleamed with chrome and smelled like linoleum and ketchup. May and Tuck took seats on rumbling, swiveled stools at the long counter. The counterman emerged from the kitchen of the rear and sized them up expertly. They looked all right. A little silly, maybe, their clothes especially, but honest. He slapped a cardboard menu down in front of them and leaned on the foaming orange cooler. "You folks from off?" he said. "Yep," said Tuck, "just passing through." "Sure," said the counterman. "Say, didn't there used to be a wood once down the other side of town?" said Tuck. "Sure," said the counterman. "Had a big electrical storm, though, about 3 years ago. Big tree got hit by lightning, split right down the middle, caught fire and everything, tore up the ground. Had a bulldozer all out." "Oh," said Tuck. He and May exchanged glances. "Coffee, please. Black, for both of us." "Sure." He took the menu away, poured the coffee, and leaned again on the orange cooler. "Used to be freshwater spring in that wood," said Tuck boldly. "Don't know nothing about that. Had a bulldozer all out, like I say." "Oh," said Tuck. Afterward, while May was shopping for supplies, Tuck went back through the town on foot, back the way they had come, out to the little hill. There were houses there now and a feed and grain store, but on the far side of the hill, inside a rambling iron fence, was a cemetery. Tuck's heart quickened. He had noticed the cemetery on the way in. May had seen it too. They had not spoken about it, but both knew it might hold other answers. Tuck straightened his old jacket. He passed through an archway of wrought iron arches and paused, squinting at the weedy rows of gravestones. And then, far over to the right, he saw a tall monument, once, no doubt, imposing, but now tipped slightly sideways. On it was carved one name, Foster. Slowly, Tuck turned his footsteps toward the monument and saw as he approached that there were other, smaller markers all around it, a family plot. And then his throat closed, for it was there. He had wanted it to be there, but now that he saw it, he was overcome with sadness. He knelt and read. In loving memory, Winifred Foster Jackson. Dear wife, dear mother, 1870 to 1948. So, said Tuck to himself, 2 years. She's been gone 2 years. He stood up and looked around, embarrassed, trying to clear the lump from his throat. But there was no one to see him. The cemetery was very quiet. In the branches of a willow behind him, a red-winged blackbird chirped. Tuck wiped his eyes hastily, and then he straightened his jacket again and drew up his hand in a brief salute. Good girl, he said. And then he turned and left the cemetery, walking quietly. Later, as he and May rolled out of Tree Gap, May said softly, without looking at him, "She's gone?" Tuck nodded. "She's gone." There was a long moment of silence between them, and then May said, "Poor Jessie." "He knowed it, though," said Tuck. "At least, he knew she wasn't coming. We all knowed that long time ago." "Just the same," said May, and then sat up a little straighter. Where to now, Tuck? No need to come back here no more." "That's so. Let's just head out this way. We'll locate something." "All right." And then she put a hand on his arm and pointed. "Look out for that toad." Tuck had seen it too. He reined in the horse and climbed down the wagon. The toad was squatting in the middle of the road, quite unconcerned. In the other lane, a pickup truck rattled by, and against the breeze it made, the toad shut its eyes quickly. But it did not move. Tuck waited till the truck had passed, and then he picked up the toad and carried it to the woods. "Burn fool thing must think it's going to live forever," said to May. And then, soon they were strolling on again, leaving Tree Gap behind, and as they went, the tinkling little melody of a music box drifted out behind them and was lost at last far down the road. And that is the end of our book. So we get to the end and we find out that Winnie didn't ever go to the spring and get water. She actually eventually married, and it said that she was a loving wife and a loving mother. So she got married, she had kids, and she eventually died and was buried there at the cemetery next to her family. And it leaves us happy, but also a little, I think we were all kind of hoping that she would drink the water and have that everlasting life. But that is the end of our book.